trigger happy and I give less than a fuck. Love me or hate me, I'ma show enough, rip shit up. It's Mr. Nothing, nice on a mic stand. Mic in the left and the zest in my right hand. I took a puff, had enough now, hold up. If that was Indo, niggas getting rolled up.
Welcome, folks. This is Acid Root. So I'm going to review Barrio Fino and Directo by Daddy Yankee. So this is basically a live album. What this album translates to in English is Fine Hood Live. Basically, Barrio Fino means fine neighborhood, but I think it's intended to mean fine hood, and that's kind of the situation. So the end Directo is just live. So this basically means that it's like an in-concert album, because Daddy Yankee had a pretty large 2004 with the regular Barrio Fino album that had hits on it like Gasolina and stuff, which was a pretty good dance romp, kind of like Rompe on here, but he's pretty good at doing some of these. It was kind of obscure back in the mid 2000s just because that sort of rap was starting to take off, like Latino rap was starting to take off more. It was starting to make more noise throughout the 2000s. Songs like Lean Back kind of did that also, but it was just good to kind of see, just because, Daddy Yankee kind of gives me similar vibes to Ludacris. He's got the same kind of vibe towards him. I don't know how lyrical he is for a Latino rapper, but it seems like he does a pretty good job. And I would have to say that the dark slink to some of the singles on here definitely have like some polished type vibes to them that's definitely good for the time, and especially for what it did, because really I can't think of too many like Latino rappers from like the 90s beyond like Kid Frost and some of those type cats, but he definitely does it well. It's good concept, and he follows up Gasolina with Rompe, and then he follows it up at least a second time with Gangsta Zone. So both of these are, the 1-2 punch that these singles kind of came out had like a real majestic and kind of slink to them in kind of an extra sense. But we'll get to talking about some of these so you know what I talk about, because I'm not going to review the whole album. I'm just going to review the singles. The main reason why is because I'm not fluent in Espanol to the point where I could go through. It'd take a lot of work to go through every single song and have to translate it and come up with that and explain the reasons why. So I'm just going to do the singles. And it's a new thing. I haven't really talked about too many Hispanic artists on here, so it's something I want to try out and kind of test the waters and see what happens here. So the first single was Rompe. Basically came out in late 2005 and was the lead single that kind of anchored this project, so you knew what it was about. Daddy Yankee did not quite put out a new album, but this is kind of a stopgap, and I really liked it. I mean, it really felt like a true successor to really felt like a true successor to Gasolina and stuff, and I would have to say it's just another one that's kind of, those two songs, if you get Barrio Fino and then this one, they both are like a stellar 1-2 punch that work extremely well. I feel like it's kind of introductory. It's not quite as rapid and as fierce as kind of Machucando, but I feel like it definitely is more melodic and probably more presentable. I would have to say it's the easier pick, but I still think the tempo gets more fierce on Machucando. But I'll tell you some of the lyrics to translate some of this to English. The thing about it is that I was kind of hoping for was that more Daddy Yankee singles would kind of be translated to English, because there's a number of ones that do it through like Google and stuff where you can go to websites to get them, but they're always different. They have their different type vibes. There's no official, like, I almost wish that Daddy Yankee would have had like in his CD booklet where he would have translated it to English so you knew exactly what he was trying to say in Espanol and English. But here are the few of the lines I like from Rompe. There's a point in the song in the second verse where he says, "Leave that Scarface guys," which basically means like folks who try to act like Tony Montana from Scarface and stuff. He tells them to don't try that with me type thing. And then another line he says is, "You don't even sell on eBay," which is it's kind of a random thing to say. That's kind of a good diss just because it's like, anyone can sell on eBay. So it's kind of like, it's kind of random that you don't even sell. That was, I swear I haven't heard someone say something like that before. That's kind of the thing. But there was a line on this song Rompe that was kind of odd where he says, "With me, you're like Frito-Lay," and I couldn't understand what that was supposed to mean, because really, I don't know what that was. Because really, there's just not good enough translations to really know. But with him, any Latino or Hispanic speaking citizen that could tell me what he meant by when he says, "With me, you're like Frito-Lay," go ahead, by all means, leave a comment and let me know about it. But the next single is Gangsta Zone. This is an English title and it has Snoop Dogg on here also. Snoop Dogg does a good job on the verse, but he keeps his lyrics kind of basic because I kind of think the concept behind it is for people who speak Spanish and are just now getting used to Snoop Dogg. Is kind of like how, folks like me are getting used to Daddy Yankee, to the point where it's like, it's just kind of a bilingual song where, Latino folks mess with Snoop Dogg and he kind of keeps it simple. He does a real good job. He rides the beat. It's real kind of smooth, and he doesn't sound like it sounds kind of effortless. Snoop Dogg did a great job on there. He's a good fit for the song. I love the production on this song. This was kind of the song that drew me to the album. I remember this song from back in the day. It's just a real good, not so much a dance song, but just an overall kind of club hit. There weren't too many club hits all the time back in the 2000s, but this did a good job. Kind of something that we didn't see a lot of, especially from Latino rappers around this time, because Cypress Hill wasn't really around in that type stuff. So I said, yeah, definitely good production. But here's some lyrics I like from Daddy Yankee on there. It was kind of difficult because he only dropped one verse, but I liked how he said, "Ladies and gentlemen, I'm brisk." Just right off the bat, he says that line, and then he also has a line where he says, "Fame does not matter." That's just kind of some stuff on there, but yeah, I mean, I feel like I would need like a handy booklet next to me to kind of remind myself of everything. Like, once again, I would like for Daddy Yankee to translate it to English so I knew more of like what he was going for here. But I did like some of it. He seemed like he was kind of apt to women on that song also, so I like that. But then the third single was Machu Kondo. I really like the hook on this song. Real good singing. Daddy Yankee handles that, does pretty well with it. I felt like the production on the verses was a lot different. It was just way more fierce, and it sounded like if you were listening to this, you were probably shit faced drunk and just completely in the club with some chick grinding, some shit like that. This would kind of have to say that that's kind of the vibe I got from that, but it really felt like an easily the most turned up song. I mean, this to me was more wild than Rompe, at least in the verses, and that's kind of the thing about it. It just felt like a real nice one to kind of, I mean, it all. I'm not saying I like the production quite as much as Rompe, but I can appreciate it just because it really felt like this was really like a more vicious a club song. So, but the problem with Machu Kondo is just the fact that it was not easy to get lyrics to this song, and I even looked on YouTube, and it didn't really have seemingly like a good English translation of Machu Kondo. So it to me it just sounded like it was the English translation to Machu Kondo is crushing, and I forgot to mention that Rompe means break it. So that's kind of, if you're wondering, it means like break it down. But Machu Kondo means crushing, which I'm assuming is like fucking, kind of a version of that. Seems like he's going after some chica in the song and kind of, laying down game to kind of get that. I mean, I at least know in the song he says, I'm an animal, I'm savage, I'm lethal, that type stuff. But yeah, it's just kind of, I mean, the translations are just bad. I would like to see more official and kind of capital translations to where we could get this to where I'm knowing what's going on in the song, so English folks can mess with this a lot more. And then El Truco, which means the trick. I didn't like this song. I felt like the production, I mean, it was kind of trying to sound like some sort of like more Latino bar type thing. It's not to say there's any problem with that, but I didn't like the production on this song at all. Um, didn't quite gel with me that well. I kind of felt like I definitely felt I definitely would have had to say that I think the way that that could have turned out could have been way better. I felt like the first three singles just did far better in terms of like their vibes and what they went with it. But I mean, the fact that Daddy Yankee got four singles off of, or at least three singles off of just a remix album is extremely good. So that's just kind of the concept, is just trying to say these are three ready to go dance songs just right off the hook. And it just kind of feels like, I mean, I can't quite square up with the vibes from El Truco, but maybe it could almost be like an almost song. But I'm going to give the singles me liking 3 out of 4. I'm going to give this album in single wise a 7.5 out of 10. Really kind of charmed by it. Now that I know more of what it's about and what it was trying to do, I can say I liked it way more. But I almost think that either El Truco shouldn't have happened, or it should have been like another song. I would have liked for Gasolina to have even been on here, something like that. I mean, really, it's just the live version, but they should have just thrown that on here, the regular version, so you could get both. That would have kind of been the thing, because that was a large enough song. I think that carried steam into 2005 and 2006. But that's kind of the concept about it. So I do appreciate this 7.5. Great social score. I mean, that's the thing about it. So there you have it. That's my initial review of Daddy Yankee.